Hey everyone, happy Monday for everybody out there. Good evening, good morning, depending on where you are in the world. Hello, Shits and Giggles. Hello, Dr. Horton. Hello, Shane. How are you? And everybody else out there. Today we'll be looking through the markets, obviously going through a whole bunch of live things. Bunch of information came out in the weekend. Big news, of course, that Warren Buffett got into gold. Whether we care to know about that too much in terms of traders, we'll have to see. But whenever Buffett gets into anything and makes it very public, usually we do see a lot of pre-market and first day kind of excitement, followed by maybe a couple of days of buying and then some weakness after people lose that kind of buzz. Hopefully everybody can hear me. Hey, Emilio, how are you? We'll just let everybody get in here for a few minutes. Just go through this. Actually, it's pretty interesting little tidbit of information up here. It just shows you how sometimes things that you perceive or think will happen can sometimes happen a little bit differently. So in the UK, it looks like they're doing a eating out scheme, and that's proving hit in terms of people buying. People are going out and eating out there, and it's working out well for them. So could be opportunity to go and have a look at also things like stocks in the eat out kind of areas that have been beaten down due to this crisis. Noticed also just pre-market, noticed Goldman Sachs have come out and they've upped their target again. So they've changed their target again on the S&P 500 for the end of the year. They've actually put a target now on 3,600 for the next for the end of the year and 3,800 for the next 12 months. So they're pretty bullish now. They expect 10-year treasury bonds or treasury notes to actually go to 1.1% by the end of the year. So obviously they're really thinking that we're out of this recession, whether we are or not. That's very interesting. Greetings, everybody. Bye, gold. Yeah, well, let's have a look at gold right now in terms of more the stock than anything else. We're up 10% just off that Buffett filing. Noticed also how last week in the close there, we had that big move coming through as well. So if we have a look at the daily, just to put this in perspective, Buffett does like to buy things that are beaten down a little bit. So when you have a look at what happened here, it went from $30, sold off quite incredibly considering the move on gold. So actually it was pretty good to get into some of these shares of gold miners rather than anything else. And then he's purchased it up and it looks like $29.76 for the pre-open right now. Pretty big move. No worries. Always happy to do the live sessions. Hopefully everybody enjoys these sessions, gets a lot out of them. We're covering a whole bunch of different markets tonight. We'll have a look at Tesla. We'll look at Alibaba. We're going to be looking at dollar index, S&P 500, of course, and things like some of the currencies as well. I think currencies still remain one of the best technical trades right now, but I want to talk a little bit about opportunity in the stock market as well. Hey, Graham, how are we? Marlene, hello. Emilio, welcome. All right, let's remember just ask any questions in the room while we're going as well. There's never a dumb question. There's only a way of getting hopefully a good answer. So yeah, I just want to talk about this eat out thing again. For anyone that's looking at stocks in certain restaurants and things like that, it does look like people are all too happy to get out of the house and go and eat. And obviously the UK's implemented this eat out to help out scheme. And the numbers are looking promising for that. So in the US as well, they may not run a scheme like this, but they may run something else, or just in general, population will want to get out. I know I'm hankering to get out of this stage 4 lockdown we are in Melbourne. Obviously, it's just human nature to want to go out and do things and be outside. In terms of pre-market analysis across the world, what we're looking at is pretty big moves in silver, obviously the other metals as well. VIX has dropped off a little bit. Market's up a little bit or a tad just coming into the pre-market. We saw last week a little bit of selling at the end of markets. So it'll be interesting to see. We're right that high on the stock market right now. So can we break it this week? Well, time will tell. We'll have a look at that. Anyone that hasn't watched our weekly analysis, definitely worthwhile checking that one out. The video on our YouTube. Natural gas. Yeah, look, natural gas is obviously, a lot of people are looking at, I guess, because of, how low it is historically based on where it's been over time. It's not something I really trade too much, natural gas. It is moving up quite a lot at the moment. You see it's pretty aggressive in terms of movement here. Nice double bottom here in terms of technicals, but it's kind of already completed the double bottom. What you have to say is, well, what's it done last time it's been at these lows, these 1.5 lows? And last time it was there, it moved up quite heavily. So you would think there's be some resistance around this 2.9 area. Pretty aggressive move. So you might notice like it come back down. If it hit 2 again, that would be a technical buy zone for a conservative style entrance. Yes, he bought a company, Shane. Yes, Warren Buffett bought a company. He didn't buy gold. I understand, yeah. Good evening, Jameen. All right, so we'll get into some of the analysis. We'll quickly just talk about this. We'll just show in perspective how low this stock is in gold, or how low it's been, and what happens to gold miners when the price of gold doesn't necessarily go that well. So obviously after the GFC, and this company has other problems that they've had, but after the GFC, Barrick went up quite strongly, hit that kind of all-time high period, 54, and then after gold started fumbling, it really sold off heavily. I remember Newcrest in Australia was very beaten down back into 13 as well. They had all sorts of problems with their mines as well. But yeah, it does show you that there is risk in these shares. So obviously Buffett's looking at it and he must like what he's seeing in terms of the actual company itself, and he must have liked the price. Another one to watch just this week will be Alibaba. It's down a little bit pre-market, 0.46% down, 252.80. It's in a bit of a channeling range here on the 4 hour. If we have a look at the daily and we look at kind of the movement of Alibaba, it's been pretty strong. Shares obviously came in over around this $100 and they've done well from 2017-18. And then they've done kind of not as well as some of the other tech stocks have done and other like Amazon, etc. But they're stuck in a bit of a range here. I think there's a lot of risk on this. You could definitely trap price between the 240, put a horizontal like support line here. And then you could probably put a pretty good, there's definitely a very good resistance line up here. And I'd always go the bodies personally. I always like the body closes, and I've explained quite a lot in the channel why I like that. I like to look at the support resistance where the fight has basically ended between the bulls and the bears. I'm not too much of a fan of looking at it from a perspective of, looking at the wicks, because the wicks just show that the price got there at some point. If you have a lot of body closes around a zone, that's where the fight ended. And that is the most important part when it comes to trading. Neo will be the next Tesla. That I don't know. I don't know much about Neo, I must admit. Sometimes if you don't know something about a market, you're better off not getting involved in it. There are always technicals though. So if you know how to read trend and you know those types of things, I traded all sorts of things in the past where I had no idea what necessarily the fundamental was underneath it, but I had a very good technical signal. That's the one good thing about technicals, but you always have to treat it like a trade and not an investment. Very big delineation between the two of those things. Is there a downside to buying gold miners rather than gold itself? Yeah, definitely business risk. Gold's pretty expensive to get out of the ground. So it can be very, very difficult. Gold can certainly be like that. So yeah, with Alibaba, I think there's a lot of risk on this share. Obviously, if we did see Trump ban them for whatever reason, I think that would send them down. I would not be that interested in this. But if you're looking at the short side, there'll be a lot of buying pressure around this 230. So the problem is that you're not going to have that much range either. I think the risk reward doesn't make too much sense. I'm actually looking at Bitcoin at the moment. I don't usually talk about crypto too much, but I do think that Bitcoin is approaching an incredibly important area. We've got a huge level of resistance up here at this 12,000. And we know that when Bitcoin cracks a new level, it loves to go very bullish very fast. So that's one good thing. When you understand like a type of trade, let's say Bitcoin, and we understand that it's very aggressive, like a Tesla, because of the amount of retail hype in these types of investments, that when things break, everyone gets on. Someone will call Sally, someone will call Bob, someone will call James. They'll say, whoa, Bitcoin cracked 12,000, get on it. And there'll be 12,100, and then it all adds together. And that's the great thing about understanding the type of instrument that retail traders like you or myself get involved in. Certainly worthwhile knowing that, because if you know that, then what ends up happening is you understand that when it breaks incredibly aggressively. So are you going to get that conservative entry where it comes back down? Or it didn't do that last time. Because when it broke here, when it broke past this last one, we'll draw this up together. Because this is relevant to stocks, this is relevant to currency, it's relevant to commodities, anything like that. When we broke this 10,300, 10,400, we would have thought that it conservatively would come back down here. It barely didn't. It didn't even get 10,500. It just didn't come down here. But look how it went straight to 12,000 very, very fast. Yeah, the 12,000 is very key. Look at the previous resistances across here. Where is it going to go next? I would think that it could definitely go back up into these highs, that 14,000 range. I might make a video about this as well and go through a full top-down analysis. I think Bitcoin is a very interesting level. Another thing, if you look at the 4-hour chart on these types of things, I always like to look at the structure coming into it. So you'll hear the word structure used a lot, or the word accumulation or distribution or excess or any of those types of things. One thing with any technical analysis, if we have really nice clear resistance levels, we have a coiling effect, and we've also got a series of higher lows coming into this resistance. If it does break, it's basically like an ascending triangle. We could draw it through just the bodies instead of going the wicks. And the more it kind of coils here, if it breaks down or up, usually the more aggressive it will get. Bitcoin a trading instrument, Shane? Yeah, it certainly is. Excuse me one second. Yeah, I think Bitcoin is really good. Tesla set for a run, split battery day, just have a good out strategy. Yeah, absolutely. Tesla is a trade. I really stress that. Look, long term you could invest in it, I'm sure, but I think it's going to have some wild days. And because it has so many retail investors like ourselves in it, it can be risky for you. I always like to think about that. But I really like this series of higher lows coming into Bitcoin. If it gets through the 12,000, it could be an absolute... Well, obviously it has to get through 12,028 here. But it would be worthwhile setting alerts for. Things like these kind of scenarios are what you expect. Coil, breakthrough, really short kind of pullback, test this previous resistance, longs, that would be one option. Or it basically just cracks through and keeps going. Because of the explosiveness of what it's done before, that's the type of thing that we often see. And it's always exciting to notice these types of things, understand that it's the retail traders that are going to get on board, and that when we get on board, there's nothing that pushes the market like the retail traders. Or Wall Street bashing us. Either or. I'll answer the question about FMG a little bit later, because FMG is very specific to Australian traders. Yeah, silver and gold are definitely looking quite strong. So if we actually look at gold itself and we talk about this, I just wanted to quickly bring this up with pivots. So I've just got some daily pivots here, and I've just kind of joined them all together. I wanted to show two things. I wanted to show with pivots, if you ever do use these things, they're good when you use them with price action. So for anyone that watched the video on the weekend, I was talking about this 1940 body closes, so important. Notice how on the 4 hour, the body closes went all the way through this zone, and then the buying has happened. So I do expect gold to strengthen further. In fact, I think potentially gold could even go back to between 1980 and the 2000 level. And then it might find some selling pressure though. We talked about that on the channel. We've talked about why. It's because with this kind of aggressive move, you often see a pretty nice move up, followed by an aggressive sell-off again. When are the retail traders taking profits on Tesla? It won't be the retail traders taking profits. It'll be Wall Street crushing them. It always is the same way, unfortunately. Do I always wait for the retest? In currency, I often do, unless I understand the instrument. So something like Bitcoin, maybe I wouldn't. Yeah, I'll check out Ethereum. That's definitely worthwhile checking out. So send through the things that you want to have a look at, and also just general discussions about any topic is always good. Any topic that you ask, a Q&A session, I'm more than happy to answer. I've seen quite a lot over the years, so more than happy to go through it. Yeah, so with these pivots, we've got one thing that I just wanted to point out. Whenever an kind of an S3, which are these red ones, the bottom of the red ones, or an R3 are broken through. So whenever we see pivots get broken so massively, it often means that there's going to be an incredibly big move that day. So whenever it breaks past one of these, it just keeps going. Generally, it's worthwhile having a look, but when you put pivots on, you can often look through history as well. Very, very rarely will you see an R3, S3 daily get cracked. Very rarely. Like here, you didn't even see it. Just to note how amazing that kind of move is. It often gets there, but then it will hover and consolidate. So it's sometimes worthwhile having these on your charts, but when you do have them on your charts, you need to understand that use them with your price action support resistance levels. Never just rely on pivots. Unfortunately, it's like that crutch that people get into. They kind of think, oh, I can see that the pivot's telling me to go here, so I'll make a prediction. It'll often be right because it's based on previous movements and obviously stats, but yeah. Yeah, definitely. If you want to like the video, if you're enjoying the stream, definitely do. It does help us out to get noticed and obviously help subscribers and all that type of stuff. The more people we get, the more often I can do this for everyone. Yeah, we'll look at the FTSE. I'll bring that up. Let's just quickly talk about the S&P 500 though. I've kind of not acknowledged that market enough. Obviously, that's what we're here to also talk about. So S&P 500, we all know it's near that all-time high. We all know that it's very close to, that monthly kind of R2 pivot as well. And it's starting to coil around this level. Remember, the longer it sits at this 3380, and then whichever way it chooses to break, and this is a key time where it's not so much about what it's doing right now, it's about the way it breaks and how long it takes to, that's going to dictate the way that you want to trade moving forward or invest. So we've obviously just seen positivity recently. We're very far away from that daily 20. I mentioned this quite a lot. So I mentioned the daily 20 because the market likes to come back. Some people call it mean reversion, whatever you want to say, but basically the market will pull back during times, and 3,300 is where it is right now. So if it does break through, it's probably going to really want to retest and come back down. So if it does break through here, it will want to retest. Why is that? Because it will exhaust after breaking through here because it's so far away from that 20 daily. The 20 daily, it eventually has to touch. So if it gets through, it will exhaust and then it will come back down and then probably meet the 20 at the 3380, 3400. I don't use the MACD indicator a lot. Is there a reason? Oh, look, the MACD indicator is great. It's a great indicator. I use the MT4 MACD. I just prefer it. I do add it onto charts. I just don't use it that much because it gives you tons of signals, but that doesn't mean they're all good. Use price action the most and then bring in everything on top of that. So the best way to do it is actually to have no moving averages on the chart completely. Just look for structure, look for support resistance, horizontal when you're a beginner. The number one tip, if I was to give anyone a tip ever, it is when you get into technical analysis, look at just horizontal support resistance. If you just do that and you break it down that simply, you'd be surprised how good it is. Don't look at flags, don't look at other things. Look at only horizontal support resistance patterns. MACD makes me think of McDonald's. Maybe I should invest more in McDonald's then. Talk about MACD and get McDonald's. Yeah, look, I think I've already made it clear that I'm a bit of a fan of McDonald's shares. Mostly because I think that while the stock market's going to recover, and it's obviously already recovered and probably plow on through, I'm bullish long term, of course you have to be. That's just the nature of the world. But if you think about it, there's going to be a huge amount of people that are not necessarily very happy. There's going to be unemployment that's just skyrocketing. And unfortunately, McDonald's does well during those types of recessions. It just does. Where do I get currency data from? I'm not sure if you want tick data and things. There's certainly Google that. You can certainly get it. Maybe someone in the room can help you out with that one. Do I see a correction likely for the Nasdaq? Well, at this stage, you wouldn't necessarily think so. I mean, obviously, it should already have been correcting. Here we've got the monthly pivots up, and I've just left the monthlies on. In terms of what we're seeing, we should technically now be seeing, I mean, from a technical perspective, we had a close. We should see it go up to 11,500. That's the technicals. We're buy. We go down to the daily. It's bounced off the 20 again, which it's always been doing. It's going into the monthly R2 right now. Oh, R1, sorry. And then once it gets through that, it really is signaling this 11,600 in terms of it wants to go touch that. But 11,500 is really where it should really find some strong resistance. If it doesn't sell off here and it doesn't stop here, yeah, 11,500 would be the next level. Thanks, Sammy. I appreciate that. $3,400 is a huge resistance on the stock market. It really should be. But remember, the longer it coils here, especially if it sells off back into 3,300, hits the 20, goes back up and does a double top formation. So imagine if we see something like this. I said this on the weekly analysis. Imagine if we see this. A full double top pattern here. That would be absolutely amazing if you're a shorter. That would be very, very strong. That's the kind of thing you want to think about whenever you hit these levels. What can happen at these levels? Well, one option, of course, we get a big coil. You're interested in a trade in a big coil because the big coil, big distribution area, if it breaks below, it's going to go and test other levels. So we've talked about on the weekly how the 3,200 and, of course, the 3,300 would be key short zones. If it breaks above, the longer it coils here, the longer it thinks about it, the more explosive that move is going to be. But I do think that it's going to need to hit this 20 again. It's hitting it throughout. This is the S&P 500, 500 companies. So it usually needs quite a lot of movement from everything in the index. It's not always all about the tech stocks, and a lot of those tech stocks are incredibly pushed right now. They're very, very high. I think no one can think Apple's cheap anymore. If you think Apple's cheap, yeah, I'm not sure what kind of fundamental analysis you're doing on that one. Hey, MC. Hey, kid. Graham says, would you care about what way it breaks at this key level and have a breakout trade, such as catch it either direction? A bit like London breakout. Yeah, we'll have to do some breakout sessions where we'll actually capture currencies and stock markets during sessions and talk about breaks from those sessions. Definitely worthwhile looking at that. Look, I don't care. I really don't care. I mean, obviously you have a bias towards the long side on a stock market or a stock in general. Why do you have that bias? Always remember, it's like a built-in statistical chance they're going to go up. It's because they're basically companies hiring people to make more money for themselves. Their aim is not to lose all their money. They don't want to lose it. So they are built to go up. And always remember, there is a bias. The reason why people make so much money in the stock market is because there is a bias long. If you're always biased long, you'll actually do better. You just will, because that's the chance. If you're always looking for the next giant short, unfortunately speaking, it doesn't come that often. And as we saw, the Fed ruined it for everyone this time around. The Fed have ruined it. They're nasty. I don't know how they got away with that, but yeah. No, we haven't done the silver analysis yet. We just talked about gold. We talked about how gold can get to, well, not this gold here. Gold could certainly get to the 2000, 1980 area. It could even do the 1975, 1980 today. Obviously a break high of here. We've already got our trough, peak, higher trough. Then we've got our higher peak. So we've fully confirmed change of trend on the 4 hour. But I do expect, because of the nature of the big sell-off here, that we're going to see further selling into gold. Unless Buffett is magical and he literally changes sentiment completely. That's usually what you will see. Let's have a look at dollar index before we go over to silver and other things. Yeah, that's right, Yuko. Companies do prefer to make money. They also prefer to not pay their staff very much. Dollar index is fully trapped on the 4 hour. I've said this a few times, and definitely another top tip. If you're looking for structure in the markets, whenever you see a pattern, always body closes are the best key. So I like the body closes down here, and I like the body closes here. Now, why do I like that? Because it's clear that the market is stopping at that level, and that's where the fight kind of is ending. Now, another thing, whenever you see the pattern, and we'll go through this, let's have a look at the daily, because this is, again, relevant to stocks, relevant to anything. Great thing about technical analysis like this, it's relevant to all markets. So does this look very clear as like kind of a channeling pattern on the daily? You can see it, and you know there's some kind of distribution here, but the structure is not great. When we go down to the 4 hour, how much clearer is that for everybody? I think everyone will say, absolutely, this is clearer, which is awesome. And that's therefore the time frame that you want to be looking for your pattern closes. Pattern closes above, pattern closes below, the clearest time frame of the structure of the pattern. It's a great tip. It took me a while actually to understand that. Yeah. It wasn't just like, oh yeah, that makes sense. It's simple when you know, because it makes sense. But you often don't come up with it. And anyone that came up with that, definitely put it in the room. And if you knew that already, that's pretty good. Well done. Are we seeing dollar debasement? It's a great question. I do not know. You would think not, but yeah, the US dollar is in possibly a very bad decade. The printing press is not good. It's a bit sad, really. It may change everything that we understand about the world. It will be bull market overall forever. Yeah, that's the nature of the economy. Now, if the economy exploded, and I mean like literally the system broke, that's when... Thanks, Yuko. Yeah, if the economy exploded, then of course that would be the time that I think you would be seeing, full Great Recession. But no one really wants that. No powerful countries, no Western countries, no one really wants that on their watch. It's too much of a headache for them. Why would they want that? They don't. And that's why you have to be eternally bullish. That doesn't mean that you're blind to shorts, though. I think one of the best ways of shorting markets is obviously options. Things like, spreads, that kind of thing. Yeah, do I know why Pepperstone's MT5 platform shows less historical? It's been around less time, so they haven't added the. They didn't have as many pairs on it. The MetaTrader 4 has just been around so long that it stores all of the data. It's a great question about currency. Yeah. Most of the data won't go back. That's why I quite like TradingView. Definitely check out tradingview.com. It's always worthwhile having a look at this. The reason why is you can get data from so many different places. It'll help you out quite a lot. Some MT4s you can go back really, really far. It depends when they started their company and when they started their data, because they import their data into those programs. Ryan, question. Hey, Tom, just wanting to dip my feet into trading. I currently use Stake, but I'm wanting something I can set stop losses with. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of different companies that you can go with. Are you talking about trading companies? Can you just clarify that question, possibly? Maria, is it advisable to buy EuroOdd and odd US dollar at the same time? Well, obviously, if you're buying EuroOdd, then you're betting the euro is stronger than the Australian dollar, and then you're betting also that the Australian dollar is stronger than US dollar. You can do that. Just remember, when you're buying the same asset, which or you're buying a very similar kind of concept, then you're kind of basketing those two trades. So just split your risk accordingly. Yeah, I think Graham does use that thing. So yeah, Graham, you're probably best to answer that question. Platforms that we recommend. Look, we definitely do recommend for Forex traders, commodity traders, that kind of thing, CFDs. Definitely check out Pepperstone. We do like them. We work with them. They're a good company. I believe customer service and safety of your money is most important. If you're looking at stocks, obviously they have some, but realistically, There's many brokers out there with stocks. Depends on the country you're in as well. In Australia, we have HINs. HINs are really important for security of stocks as well. A little bit different to American way. Let's have a look over at these markets again. Just look at that 33.80. Obviously, pre-market, it is flat as a tack. Nothing really too interesting there. I want to just continuously check out pre-market. I'm really interested to see the movement on this barrack. I want to see when Buffett gets in, he pushes stocks. Have a look at the stocks over time that he's purchased. Just go back and just look at stocks that he's purchased and made announcements for. It's phenomenal how much they move. I still remember when he was buying Apple really, really heavily as well. When he was buying Apple super heavily under $100, that was he even moved that stock. Check out Tesla as well. Let's have a look here at the technicals, because I think Tesla could be setting up for another boost, and that's crazy. So Tesla's up. We're hitting that resistance. We've got the 1686 resistance here in terms of the body close. We had that kind of wicking event that went up to 1790 crazily. I don't think that matters as much. It was a crazy day, and obviously it gap shorted. So I'd want to see it get above this 1680. It could be very aggressive. We've got a big range here on the market. If we go down to the 4 hour, it's really big range. So yeah, it's going to be hard whether we go with the 16 kind of 80 zone as being our signal. But I think that because it respected it twice after that big move, now we are seeing this is the main resistance. We've got a bit of very small amount of structure forming here. Could be today that it gets through here. In Australia, CHESS sponsored is a big thing to take consideration. Yes. CHESS sponsored HINs. Very good. Tesla is going to $2,000 by Shane by Battery Day. I must admit, I love this Tesla thing. I think it's so funny. I love it. It's just crazy. It reminds me of Bitcoin when it was going wild a few years ago. It's Bitcoin of stocks. It's crazy, and some things don't make sense. But I can't make sense of it on paper, of course. But I love the enthusiasm everyone has for it. It's great. Yeah, Amazon's got 2 points. You've got under this kind of 3,000 zone. And then, of course, you're starting to see it really forming a lot of structure through this point. You've got resistances here at 3240 and the 3300. If it pops again, that would be very big for getting that Nasdaq to 10.5. Gets above this 32.33. We're at 0.8% up pre-market. So we get above the 32.30 kind of zone here, 32.35. And then we bring that up. I think we can go all the way up here and potentially even probably bust that off. This is forming a series of higher lows and very equal kind of resistances here. So that means that because we're getting higher lows, the market's coiling, getting ready to go. It's a disruptive company with vertical integration. Yeah. Tesla's it's a great. Can you call it a double bottom for Tesla? No, I wouldn't be doing that, but I would be saying it's a channeling range. Yeah, it's definitely a range. If you're talking this as a double bottom, yeah, you could call it, I guess. But technically a double bottom, while it's the end of the trend and the start of a new trend, it already completed when it hit this resistance. I'd be trading it more like a giant range now. But yes, that's when it broke through here, yes, that would have been actually it. This is a great question. Great, amazing. I'm not even sure how to pronounce your name, but you say here, imagine what happens with Tesla if Elon died. Absolutely. Always think about key person risk. There is key person risk on Tesla. There is technically some key person risk on Amazon as well. What about Bezos? Apple could keep going. Tim Cook, it's not the end of the world in terms of the share. The share is obviously the biggest time that anything could have ever happened was when that stuff happened to Steve Jobs. Obviously, that was terrible. But the key person risk is real for some companies. Go over to some of these nice structure formations. I want to talk about this. So we've got here euro pound. I just want to talk about how the euro is kind of strengthening versus the pound. Very nice structure. And I always love these kind of setups. So we've got here a bit of bullish momentum. I've drawn this box here between the 90 kind of 60 zone and 90.50. And the reason I've done that is because notice how, yes, there is a lot of resistances around here. Yes, it's through all the moving averages, but there's also some resistance support at the 90.60. So the way you want to look at this, you want to see it close above, then come down into your box, and you want to be buying here. And you would like the 20 to be there as well to act as dynamic support. You've got very strong resistance up here, that 91 kind of 30, and you've got every moving average under the sun that we like to talk about. You've got that 200 simple moving average, the green one, the 20 EMA, and the 50 EMA. So that's exciting. You've got a whole bunch of things behind it. So that's one of those things where if you see stuff like that, it's really, really cool. And then if you look at something like the New Zealand US dollar, I'll show you why. So the New Zealand US dollar is a very similar trade. Look at that. Resistance became support. While even though the US dollar has been weakening, look how the New Zealand was weakening more. So it came back up, touched the 200 and the 20 at the same point as the role reversal. Very nice. Amazing. You look at this every time. I'll zoom that in for everyone there. Yes. That is the happy zone. I like that. That's one of the first things that I ever became really successful at doing. I call that that's my golden cross, the fake golden cross, when all the dynamic lines line up together and they mean something. All these mean something. It's why I put them on those charts. Ryan, I'm not exactly sure how much Apple stock dropped when Steve Jobs passed away. It did have a little bit of weakness though. There's quite a lot of weakness. I definitely bring that up. Probably worthwhile. Anyone got the date it happened? I remember it was 2011, I think. 2011? 2010. It's 1, 2, 3. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. When someone says that, I always talk about support resistance. Whenever you see 3 resistances and then a break, it means something. So say like here, 1, 2, 3 resistance. When it broke through, that was very significant. And if it had come back down and touched it, always remember 1, 2, 3. There's a 1, 2, 3 as well. Came back, bang. A patent 1, 2, 3. If anyone has that day, definitely let me know and I'll bring that up. Because key person risk, I think all these things, if you just add them into your kind of daily routine, just add them into your mental bank that you know that this type of stuff happens. Remember, things happen time and time and time again. 5th of October, 2011, I assume. Let's have a look. So it actually went up. Is that right? And then found a bit of weakness. There you go. Didn't care as much. And then it found weakness after it. Actually, I do remember that. It did go up. And everyone's like, well, that's really surprising. I still think Elon is a huge risk, though, to Tesla. But yeah, this one was surprising. I can't remember what the announcement was, but if I remember rightly, it was something like they already had 3 or 4 years worth of pipeline product. I think they quickly said that to the market. You can find some articles on it. I do remember the trade at the time. And I have a feeling they told everyone in the market that's what I'm pretty sure they did. I think they said they had about 4 or 5 years in the market in the pipeline. That was all his ideas. Apple Watch, etc. This is very parabolic vertical right now, everyone. We'll always come back. Always come back and look at this Apple chart. I'm sure you're going to learn something about this one. This is vertical. People saw it coming. Yeah. It was. I'm almost positive that they announced that they had a whole bunch of stuff in the pipeline. So that's a good point, Vincent. He was sick for quite a while. Yeah, exactly. Why is Buffett getting into gold? Is he bearish? You could see it that way. It's still a very small holding for Buffett, very small. So it's not really too much of his net worth. Now, why is he getting into it? Well, he obviously doesn't see value as much in the stocks. He's buying very specific stocks, selling very specific stocks. Obviously, he's getting out of a whole bunch of banks that he doesn't like. He does... Look, he would be buying more if... And his company... Because you got to remember, it's not really about Buffett anymore. I mean, Buffett's trying to set up an heir. You know, he's pretty old. He's very good for his age. Man, he's a beast, in my opinion. But, yeah, look, I think a huge part of that is that he is worried about the economy, but he won't... Well, at least his team is, and they're just trying to find anything they can get into because they don't want to keep holding this cash for too long. And gold's maybe a good asset for them, or at least gold mines that have good fundamentals are a good asset for him instead of holding this cash. He needs to show his shareholders that he's doing something. Any thoughts on tech companies for the next few weeks? Look, you would think they're going to come into headwinds, especially if Trump goes after Alibaba. I think, look, there will be recourse here from China. Yeah, there could be a recourse from China. Here's the euro US dollar. I just wanted to show you this one again. We actually talked about this in our private Discord group and the live webinar we did last week. And I was talking about how this middle of the zone, notice how we've got the channel, because this is very similar to the dollar index, and the euro US dollar trades just like the dollar index, except of course backwards. So we've got this 119 resistance, and we've got this 117 support, and in the middle, 118. So what are these all? They're all 1 cent gaps. So the middle means something in a channel as well. Whenever you're looking at structure of the market and you see a big, nice channel, and how do we identify channels? We always want to see 2 touches each side. Then we know it's in a channel. The middle zone's important. And we notice here, got this double bottom, got a very strong buy zone, and then we've got 2 strong rejections off it. And those all point to good buying area. Good scalping, good day trading, good buying area. Gold is the play with the coming inflation. Look, yeah, gold's now gone to all-time highs. We know that gold likes bulling through QE. It likes bulling through that kind of thing. Gold going to 3,000? Yeah, possibly. Gold could go hyperbolic. It could go insane. It could also do its thing and stagnate round. A lot of it will depend on the Fed, though, and what they choose to end up doing. Got that FOMC meeting minutes this week. So silver came off that 26, previous resistance became support. It's a nice buy here, actually. I still think silver could have problems at the 28 or even at these points, but yeah, silver has a lot in it. We've talked about this before. Silver on the monthly, look how far off it is from these peaks. It's hard to believe. Look at this. You want to talk about crazy? If that market was insane. That's when the retail herd goes wild. And that can only happen with retail because it won't happen as much with Wall Street in general. But I just want to remind everybody with metals like this, like silver, they have good periods. If they ever go hyperbolic, truly hyperbolic, like they've done here, then they will have massive blow-offs and years of horrible returns. Barber bearish? Yeah, it could be. Barber's definitely one I'd be looking at. I'd be setting alerts for it this week. This is a ban subject, of course, for Trump. Let's have a look. Got, 17 minutes before open. Silver is like gold on steroids. Well, it was underpriced for so long. Silver has a lot of properties to do with recovery as well. So whenever you think about gold, hey, it's cool on my Rolex watch, or it's cool on my, other things that I've got, gold jewelry, etc. But it's not as useful. It's more of a store of wealth. Silver is used as well. In fact, I think a huge percentage, quite a lot of percentage is used in the economies. It's used in rebuilds. Worthwhile looking at copper as well. Thoughts on the Nasdaq being so far away from the monthly 20? Yeah, we can look at that. Let's check that out. My thoughts are the monthly 20 means probably less. I think the weekly means more. And again, you go through history to try to figure out. A lot of people say, well, history doesn't matter anymore, but history always matters. It just doesn't matter when you think it doesn't. So like right now you might think, oh, well, this market will never drop. It will dip. It will have to dip. It cannot go up forever. No market ever in the history of anything goes up forever without having major dips. So here's really far away. You can see how far away it is from that monthly. But it can just hover in a distribution range or an excess kind of high up here for a very long time. The 20 will eventually catch up with it. Notice though, if you pull lots of data, so if I had more of the data here, it doesn't often touch that 20. But when you look at the weekly 20, now that's the one I'd be looking at. Through a bull run, a very nice bull run, by the way, it often comes down and tries to test that 20. We're very far away from it. The last time we were so far away from it, it had a big sell-off. And even at the previous highs, when it did that V shape back from 18 into 19, it hit that top, make a slightly higher top, and then sold off into it and actually hit the 50. So yes, the weekly is the one I'd be looking at. Track that weekly, put that on your chart, 20 simple, 20 EMA, doesn't matter which one really. Just a quick reminder, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, definitely consider doing so. And I think I've got some lab bot thing going through. If you're interested in a cheat sheet, a free one, we'll definitely give those away. So you can just go sign up and you'll get it on your email. Gabe says, Buffett bought Barack. I suggest you all follow. Well, the problem is that is what a lot of people do. And that's often there's a hype that comes into it and then it drops off. So just remember that. We've got 10.6% hype pre-market. I'm super interested to see this one. Most of my hype for today's open is actually to check out this stock. History repeats? It certainly does. Human psychology repeats would be the way I would say it. New entry for normal gold, gold in general. Well, I think we saw it today. I think that 1940 was a really good buy zone. Got bullish movement now. Could continue to move up. We're going through that R1 here on the pivots, so definitely worthwhile checking out those. Yeah, he would have bought it at 26.90. It definitely is not a good, well-kept secret that, where he's been buying. He's been buying through. You can see he's been buying through it. Price action is better percentage than swing or other trading strategies. I think price action can be built into any trading strategy. It's the basis for most people that I know that professionally trade. They base it on price action. You know why? Price action is a representation of psychology, human psychology. See you, Gabe. Have a good night. Or good morning. Buffett's choices have more to do with solid businesses and solid returns. Absolutely. He chose that company for a solid reason, and that's because it's a massive, giant gold miner, and it has other assets as well. This is an interesting question. Gold was the global reserve currency long before the US dollar was around. Gold is the new king. It's a commodity, an asset, and is accepted as a form of currency worldwide. It is special. Yeah, I agree with you in some aspects, but it also has some properties that are not. It's mostly a perception as well, though, and so is the US dollar. I understand that. But yeah, look, gold. I've been a bullish gold person for quite a while. Ever since it really broke through a very key technical about 14 months ago, I was super bullish on it to 1800. Was I super bullish past that point? Not really, no. We do cover silver, we do cover gold, we cover stocks as well. But I know a lot of the interest is in those right now. Now, a lot of people have been asking me about oil as well. I think oil, because we've got ahead of the kind of OPEC meeting this week, I'll stick with the same thing. Oil is at a point where I would be terrified to be buying it right here. You have major supports becoming resistance and a 50 on the weekly. That is, I'm just going to put a line straight through that. And I think everyone's going to see, this is a manipulated market right here. It always has been. But yeah, that is the zone. Gold doesn't make money? No, it doesn't. Gold is great at the right time. It is a timing. Do I trust non-physical gold holdings? What do you mean by that? Do you mean like exchange traded fund gold? Or do you mean like where they've actually got physical holdings in the back and they're held by trusts? Or are you talking about just CFDs or something else? 2018 to 2019, the US 100 goes nowhere. 2019 to 2020, the US 100, ignoring the COVID dump. Yeah, that's true. But just remember, during that time, when we're looking at the US 100, I'll get rid of these pivots. I don't need these on here anymore. 1 second. Why am I not able to select that? There we go. So, yeah, I think during that period of 2018, you had other concerns as well. So it wasn't just, we had some growth problems. You were kind of seeing that second kind of coming of the tech stocks. And obviously this was the tech kind of bust up that was due to trade concerns and a few other things as well. Yep. Great point, kid. China Central Bank just pushed digital RMB currency to the market. Yep, get ready for every single currency in the world to go digital. And in fact, all become cryptocurrencies. Yeah, so that is for sure. Thanks, MC. Appreciate that. You've been here since I think I started pushing on YouTube at the beginning of, when was it, May. So thank you very much, MC. Big shout out to you. Appreciate it. Bitcoin just hit 12,000, really? Yeah, I could see Bitcoin running off gold as well. Oh, yeah. Okay, cool. Let's watch this one. Obviously, just a reminder, you have to make your own decisions with everything that you're doing. It's not a full advice channel like that. It's more to teach you and educate you on structure, educate you on price action, educate you on technicals. From the start, MC, thank you very much. Digital currency will be the future, whether the US or China, especially after COVID. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I've always stated this, cryptocurrency is the future, but it will also, the governments aren't going to let it all go down. They're going to want to tax it. Cryptocurrency is the god for tax. It's the best. How good is it? I mean, they can track everything. It's really terrifying in some ways. But yeah, they'll want it. They want cryptocurrency. Digital coins. There we go. Look at that. Bang. Straight through. This will be a very interesting move. As we know, retail investors very interested in this. This is cool. 7 minutes before market, everybody. Very interesting. Probably leave that one up. Actually, I might split that with the market. Just check that US 100. How good is crypto? I don't know which crypto is the best. I purely just trade them. I don't pick or choose which one's going to be best. Market's moving up here. Nasdaq up 0.74 now. S&P 500 still flat as a tack. Just want to remind everybody, a few new people here, just saw this that I think is interesting. Remember, you want to, whenever you look in the stock market, if you're thinking about a fundamental perspective, fundamentals on companies is really good. Obviously, looking at trends, those kind of things, seeing how they've been performing over time. Fundamentals are hard right now because of the situation with the crisis. So you want to look also at human psychology. What's going to happen when economies really open up? What's going to happen when we have a vaccine? Has the stock market repriced things like eat-outs? I know that's a beaten down sector in the US. Could still be the area that you want to be looking at. There's an interesting study in the UK. I definitely think it's worthwhile thinking about these processes. Bitcoin's exploding. Yeah. Yeah, we spoke about that at the beginning of this session, how it was coiling up. When it gets through, it gets through. I wouldn't be surprised if it has a very large move. Remember, this is now key resistance, which becomes support as well. So if we get a close of the 4 hour, it's fully confirmed through. We do usually want to see confirmation. A lot of people recommend, look, if you're looking at structuring of diversification inside of portfolios, most people use alternatives, which include gold and other metals, and that's usually 1 to 5%. Yeah. that is correct. Gold usually is a 1 to 5% kind of play in most people's portfolios. As CoinDesk reported, several firms owned by Tencent are said to be working with research wing of People's Bank of China on testing a digital yuan. Yeah, absolutely. Look, every single country is going crypto. It just makes so much taxable sense. And after all, countries are tax havens. Tax havens or taxes. All currencies are bowing to crypto and gold. Well, then you could also say all metals as well. We've seen materials move up quite a lot. All materials are good. You don't have to necessarily say, oh, I love gold or I love, silver or whatever else I might love. We can also love things like, other metals, iron ore. Iron ore's got a lot to do with a lot of, obviously, builds, and going to see a lot of builds by governments. That's why iron ore's been moving. Talked about that ever since the start of the channel. All right, let's go into market here. 4 minutes to go. Still seeing not too much movement there. Check out Alibaba quickly. Alibaba down 0.66, and not as much as I kind of expected. Thought it was going to be down a little bit more. I'll bring up a whole bunch of volume charts as well when we do these. We're going to do these every Monday for the next month. So make sure you subscribe if you're interested in these types of things. So we're doing live streams every Monday for the next month, around the same time for the bell. Oh, why am I on this? I don't want to be on this. There we go. 10.34% into the open. I'm going to go down to a 1 minute chart. Yeah. Gold's moving now. Yep. Expect it to be so. If crypto just broke, you expect it. Oh, we did not get the confirmation close. That's big moves each way. Can we get the confirmation close? Ooh, that's nasty. This is just another lesson why you have to wait for your confirmation closes. That's pretty big movement. Obviously, 12,200 to 11,800. We want that confirmation close. Yep, someone's just dumping BTC. It's very manipulated. Look, people understand when I was looking at crypto years ago and I was watching it, you could see people were preying on human emotion. And look, there was a few whales. I guess that's what everyone in crypto market calls them. Whales were sitting there. Whales were like Wall Street. They were literally smashing markets with their big volume. Thanks very much for the subscription, Peter. Appreciate it. Anyone else that hasn't subscribed out there, please make sure to do so. Support the channel. Appreciate that. BTC moves that much because it's margin traded stop hunts. Yep, there's definitely a lot of margin coming in. People prefer to trade it. Back in 17, 18, people were just buying coins. Now it's become a tradable asset. So yeah, that does that. 2 minutes before open. Remember as well to always have up future screeners and things like that, everybody. We're using finviz.com here just because it's a free resource. Definitely a cool little screener to check out here. You can just see things that have done well for the day, things that haven't done well. Check out the FOREX one as well. See if there's a bit of dollar strength or dollar weakness straight away in terms of which currencies. And then, of course, you've also got your little crypto screener. These aren't necessarily the be-all and end-all, but they are good. My favorite thing about FinViz, the news feed, and specifically, I just like looking at this one. So I always like looking at kind of like 3 months performance, quarter performance, those kind of things. See here, it's a sea of green, except for the healthcare. Now, notice this is super interesting. Notice how healthcare was all the rage coming into the crisis, and then the rotation happened out. And that's why they've been weak. A lot of people say in Australia, why is CSL so weak? Because these companies held up while the others obviously all crushed and got crushed. And then it turned out that the news wasn't as good as people expected from making money from viruses. Hi, Richard. I still think it's pretty significant Bitcoin got above here, though. I know for anyone that pulls triggers and doesn't wait for confirmation, that was still a nice break. But we do know as it's a leverage kind of thing, so we want to see confirmation still. Yep, Tommy, yeah, we're well aware of what's happening with DXY. But things can reverse whenever you don't expect them as well. So just follow that price action is really the key. Here we go. All right. Ding, ding. Let's see what's going on. All right, up 0.31%. So a little bit stronger here than we expected. Really going to put pressure potentially on the 3,400 today. Be pretty interesting if we do that. Might see an all-time high today as well. 33, what is it, 93 or something like that. Up slightly. Let's check out that US 100. Still kind of, obviously the futures here up 0.73. Pretty strong. Check out gold quickly. All right, so the hype train of the pre-market is selling off a little bit here. The Buffett hype train, 8.9% up. Tesla looks to be up 1686. Whale mobile gaming, yeah, absolutely. Pretty much, yeah. Whale just means somebody that spends tons of money or has tons of money. What do you suggest for a beginner trader to do to start learning and getting better? I definitely think that I bring a decent amount of knowledge to YouTube, so I definitely think check out our channel. Also, we do run, of course, courses. They are paid ones, but you can join our private Discord group and things like that. Other things you can do is look, there is decent free resources out there. I think investing.com is not that bad. Baby Pips is okay as well. Not bad places to check out. They're good starts. The difference, though, between being successful and not is going to be the nuance. So it's going to be understanding. You can see a channel, and anyone can give you a channel cheat sheet. We've got one that we post up all the time. But it's the way of basically reading that channel or reading that range that's really, really important. Walmart earnings this week. Yep. Actually, let's check out Walmart because that was a company that, of course, did very well, or at least it held. Let's have a look at the performance recently. That's a breakout right there. That's a breakout. Absolutely. Quite a nice breakout. See whether it can hold it today, but that's confirmed if it does. Bitcoin taking out leverage, traders? Yeah. Well, I mean, if you were trading this type of pattern and you didn't have a stop at least under here, then I don't know what you're looking at. Way too small a time frame. What's going to happen with the S&P 500? Yeah, it looks like it's just going to try to like slowly get up there today. Might just tap it. Doesn't look like today is probably going to be the day, but it's a Monday. Okay, here we go. Good question, Paul. So, hey, Tom, what resources do you use to research stocks? Do you just read financial reports or use broker calls? Okay, so the reality is if you want to look at heaps and heaps of stocks, you can do three things. You can either become an expert at a field or an area, or like maybe there's certain stocks that you become expert at and you can do your own fundamentals. But you generally won't have time. So I like to take the average of what everyone else thinks out there. And if you value it, and then look at the price action to kind of get my levels. So I always like to look at the structure, the price action, the levels, and then use the average of all the calls in terms of Wall Street calls, etc. A lot of people will say, oh, well, these people are always wrong. Yeah, but you're taking the average of them all, and they're paid $300 to $1 million a year to make these kind of decisions. So I do like that. I think that's a good way of getting free kind of access. The other thing is having paid tools. Sector rotation is super cool and super important. I can't show you it because it's a paid tool, but yeah, things like Bloomberg Terminal and stuff are awesome. The news out there, though, try not to read it too much is a top tip. Don't read too much opinions. Price action, follow what the market's telling you. If anything, this V-shaped crash can show you is that if you were following even you know the stock market crash videos, and I know it's been popular and it's part of the reason why you make them, the trend has still remained up. It's remained up after it got that crash. As soon as it pretty much took out this point here, it was technically bullish. It's just that you have to look at it and go, okay, I'm going to invest in it, and I'm making this decision now and I'm prepared to hold it for 10 years. That's the kind of decisions you're making through there. Right now, you're making, in my opinion, more trading decisions than investing decisions. Would I be investing here? It'd be tough. There's good companies still, but it's tough to invest in the S&P right now. It's more trading it. What do I think of the ASX 200? Almost looks like a descending triangle. Yeah, I said I'd look at the FTSE as well. Now that we've got market open, just going to quickly look. 0.86, still bullish. Can we get that 11.5 this week? That'd be pretty cool in terms of that technical close. Gold, Barrick going back up 10.4%. Check out Bitcoin. Not closed above there yet, so we'll just keep watching that one. I'll at least wait for the hour. I'll go to the hour there. Yes. Okay, let's see. Okay, so no body closes of the hour above this zone either. So we'll wait for that hour. I'll stream until 12 here, and we'll go through that one. Tesla, big move. Nice. 1,700. Pretty strong move here from Tesla, obviously, to the split and everything else. As we said, Walmart did that close. Let's have a look at the ASX 200, even though it's futures. Quickly check that out. Some good technicals on all of these. We'll use the CFD. Don't know what that line's doing there. All right. So with this one, it's one of the weaker markets. Same with the FTSE. We have an incredibly strong kind of body closure point over here. Notice how, zoom this in on the weekly. We cannot get a weekly above this zone. I would be looking at a weekly above this zone in terms of body closes before you could even think about long. And obviously that 6,200, 6,100 is clear level that market cannot hold above. Whole bunch of moving averages here on the weekly. This is not the US. This is the weaker market. Look at that. The recovery is nowhere near as fast or as fierce. If you go down to the daily, I can see what you mean about the ascending triangle. Obviously, you could be drawing these up. I feel like it kind of got broken by this candle here. It was a really nice trend line off the wicks, and then it got broken down. I think it is weakening. These candles all show weakening, but remember, the US going up will push our market, but we do have a weaker sector. I think the more telling one's probably the FTSE. ASX volatile? Yeah, well, it's definitely trading in a big range. Because it's volatile because they don't have. Oh, this isn't very good. They don't have very good companies in there that are being recovered. We're really just running off the US. We're trying to get up there. So in terms of this one, the FTSE, we're still stuck in that range. This technically was a break short, but again, even though it's a break short, it's shorting the market so hard right now because of the intervention. Every time you get break shorts, every time you get technicals to the short, it's just too difficult. You have to trade it with option spreads. I think that's the only way to do it. If you do it with CFDs, you get ripped up. So that can be tough. US dollar index falling quite fast. Yeah, wouldn't surprise me. The more these kind of things go up, things like Bitcoin and gold, the more obviously that's saying, oh, look at that. We're approaching that 1975 R2 now. Nice big break at the peak. We got the full break coming in, I think, there in terms of close high for gold. Silver should be moving up as well. Again, not surprising that these things are moving up. Doesn't mean, though, it's just going to go crack a new high. Usually that's not the way it works on these blow-offs when you get this aggressive sell down. It'll all look bullish, and then it will usually sell off again. It'll do kind of like what Tesla did recently, where it went bearish, went super bullish, went super bearish again, bared for a while, and then had that move on. It may not be for long, but we're definitely in that blow-off top. Bitcoin will push $1,000 up today. Certainly could. Certainly could. And it can only do that because this is an aggressive market. And retail traders, everyone's talking about it, I'm sure. Bitcoin is probably hitting very popular. I'm kind of sad I didn't make my video about it today now if it does close above. Because this is definitely one that I wanted to do a technical, big top-down analysis on. One of the things we like to do here on the channel. Tommy, think we're at endgame. I don't think so yet. This is not endgame, but it certainly is a level. US dollar yen at a key zone. Yep, we can talk about US dollar yen. Definitely bring that up. I had a few written down here actually that I wanted to talk about. A few stocks and currencies. Never use this one, the Kraken. Terrible feed. Use the Amanda feed if you can use any. So yeah, US dollar yen obviously selling off relatively hard, coming back down to this 106 level. If we go to the 4-hour daily, let's go to the daily quickly, just to see this 106 level. So see how this body closes here? 106 will be a fairly nice kind of level of support, you would think. Whenever you're picking these levels, because of the aggression it's coming down with, you would want to look at a lightning bolt movement, as in a trough, peak, high trough, and then of course the break of that level. You need that on the smaller time frames to show you that it wants to go long. But if it comes off the 106, that would be nice. Could silver go to 28? Yeah, for sure it could. For sure it could. Yeah, I like spreads. Yeah, I like our option spreads on the markets. I always have, especially indices. I won't go too much into the general breakdown, Aaron, just because it's a little bit confusing for everyone if they don't know what options are. If Elon, something happened to Elon, Tesla would go to $200. Definitely could go quite low. Yeah, we took a look at oil before. I just said the same thing. I'll continue just to say it's at a key point ahead of OPEC. Obviously, OPEC, we have weekly support becoming resistance. It would not be a zone where I'd be like, oh, yes, I love both areas here. It's very, very strong support becoming resistance. It's hovered in this area quite a lot. Ahead of key news is what markets like to do. We always talk about that. Markets hit these kind of zones, and then they wait for the news, and then they push the level they want to. And then when they start pushing that level, that's when you want to be starting to look at things. Dow or silver? Well, the Dow's been a kind of bit decent move the last couple of weeks. Makes sense. I mean, Dow is obviously a bit under pressure in terms of was not doing as well. Some of the stocks in there have got incredible cash flow, so they're not going to do that badly. You've got that 2050 cross. Just remind everybody that happened on the weekly, which is always a very bullish sign. Happened over here. Barely even got underneath it over there. So been pretty much, when these crosses, it's been very, very, very bullish for quite a while. Well, silver would get there before Dow, you would think. I do remember when Elon said there was a 420 share buyout coming. Yeah, he got in a bit of trouble for that one. Absolutely. Oil still has no demand. Yeah, the demand is definitely lower. It's obviously manipulated. Gold 1973. Yes. Yes, Daniel. Gold could go hyperbolic. Would it go that hyperbolic? We've seen markets go very insane recently. You know, no one would have thought Tesla at 2K, and it's possible now. Shares in water. Like utilities or actual? Yeah, I'm not too sure on that. I haven't really ever invested that way before. I've invested in utilities, but it's like Monopoly, Waterworks. Do you want to buy Waterworks? I never bought Waterworks in Monopoly. Utilities and Monopolies suck. Don't do it. Don't buy them. Nate's broken Think or Swim. Welcome, Nate. Thank you very much. You're always here. Very good to see. Water companies could be interesting. Yeah, long term. Look, agricultural stocks, all sorts of things are going to be interesting. We're going to have big problems with food. Food is going to become an issue. It may not be right now because we're refining, but as the population grows, obviously there's that locust thing going on in Africa. That's pretty terrible. Oh, someone, you're looking at that 19. Yeah, does this data go back far enough? Let me just remove these pivots for a second. Let me go to a monthly. I doubt it does. No, this one doesn't have it. If you ever want to go see something psycho, go back and check gold out on the old time frames. When things go crazy, they go crazy. And remember, that's why history repeats. You always get these hyperbolic things, then you get crushed. You've had, really, Thinkorswim's been down for 35 minutes. Wow, that sucks. I tell you what, I'm not sure. How did everyone's American share trading platforms survive the March period? Tell me, how did you go in terms of March and April? Was it crazy? Were you cutting? In Australia here, the big bank feeds that I have, they were getting crushed. They were getting crushed. You were constant breakdowns. Just shows you, even with the technology where it's at right now. You can imagine like in 87, the crash. And I've talked to a lot of traders about this, a lot of the old school guys. And they were talking to me about that crash because they were obviously using like phones and stuff. And they said we couldn't even call up during the 87 crash. We'd call up and it'd just be like, you just sit on hold 4 hours and you just like hearing from other people that it was just getting crushed. That would have been terrifying. Honestly terrifying. That's a shame that those platforms are crashing. So I guess we'll just quickly recap now. We'll just recap some of the things. So in terms of the stock market right now, it looks like we're going to kind of push a little bit higher. I'm more interested in the close of day for today. Why am I interested in that? I want to see what the big traders are really doing. The open is one thing, but they set their positions mostly at the end of the day. In Australia, for example, we have like a 10-minute match period between the close of the market and the kind of period when everyone else's trades end in terms of the big guys. And they'll get in, match off their positions, do all that type of stuff. That kind of sentiment going into the match often matters very heavily. In the US, it's also what happens after the market. So that first kind of hour of trade, if you see a big sell-off and you continuously see that, it could be that the market's going up on false pretenses. So I'm very interested to see the close today more than anything else. Do I think Berkshire would do a 5 split? Not while Buffett is around. He won't want to do it. He does not want to do it. Yeah, the cheap version, I understand. Yeah. It's the cheap version. They'll never do the A. No way. Buffett's talked about that several times. For anyone else using TOS, as in Thinkorswim, web-based system is supposedly working. Thanks, Fade. Appreciate that. They won't do that split. But that doesn't mean that things like Amazon won't split. Bezos would be into that, I reckon. Bezos would be into an Amazon split after what he saw. Why not? He gets richer. I feel like he'd like that. What does everyone else think about that one? What do you guys think? Do you think Bezos would be in for a bit of an Amazon split of shares? He can do it. Alphabet, another one that could do it. It's big tech companies. I've said this a few times on oil. Just look at it, go to a weekly, put a horizontal line on it, put a 50 EMA on, you'll see what I'm looking at. Definitely worthwhile checking that out. Let's check out that Bitcoin again. Where's our Bitcoin? We'll look at Tesla because it's moving up as well. I think Tesla just shows us a lot about sentiment still in the market. I know it doesn't matter too much, but the more FOMO that's in Tesla, it seems like the market really reacts to this, and that's just a good indication of the general feeling of the retail market as well. So I like to look at Tesla as well, just to give me a bit of a gauge. Obviously, Apple is another one. Apple closing in on 500 is super key. If it stops just before 500, starts selling off, I've said this before and I'll say it again, I think Apple's getting to that point where it's moved a little bit too quickly, too fast, which usually means the volatility is around the corner on that stock. And that's a big stock, so it could move everything. Bitcoin now above 12,000 again. 12,070. NAB trade wasn't able to be called in March, April. Yeah, they were pretty busy at that point. Like every one of the banks was. Logan, you think that... What, you think that Amazon would do it? Amazon would do the split? Yeah, for sure. Quick just reminder, this is 3-month performance. Always worthwhile looking at 1-year performance as well of all the stocks in the index. You can really see that oil sector is still incredibly beaten down. Obviously the banks. Interesting, the JP and now Bank of America are actually not down for the 1-year performance. Wells Fargo, though, that is a poisonous stock right now. That stock is deadly. I don't know of Wells Fargo. I've never invested in the damn company. I don't know anything about it. But from anyone I've talked to, in America, they don't seem to like that bank that much. You can tell me whether Wells Fargo is any good. McDonald's and restaurants still getting really hurt. Starbucks in particular getting very, very punished still. Remember what we spoke about before. These sectors, they're obviously heavily reliant on people out and about, but some of these have pretty good cash flow still. I think the problem is a lot of these are all franchised, so can the franchisees survive? China tech companies, I've been a pretty decent investor in China. I thought it was okay. I specifically targeted though. Yeah, they're good. I mean, look, there's no doubt they are good, those tech companies. However, a few of them, they've moved pretty heavily. So yeah, just do your own research on that one. Check it out. If Wesley is putting them next to Deutsche, then yeah, Wells Fargo and Deutsche, yeah, well, if that's true, you don't want to be looking at that. Deutsche has been terrible. Amazon will split just to compete with Tesla. I definitely think that's possible. Absolutely. Look at another gain here that's very interesting. Google has not had a win for so long. Alphabet has not reinvented themselves well, in my opinion, for the last 5 years. It shows in their share price, obviously. Nvidia is one of the ones that always terrifies me, how much it's moved. I feel like that's another very heavy stock with retail investors like yourself and myself in it. Coke's still down overall for the year. Obviously tobacco, not too interested in that kind of sector myself. Travel, of course, and all those types of things. But it's interesting to see these restaurants down so much. Chipotle obviously is the crazy one that's out there in terms of doing very well. Bezos and Elon in a cage fight. Who would win that? I'm not sure. Probably Elon. Bezos might be a tank though. Wells Fargo confirmed awful. Okay, there you go. Nvidia is volatility incarnate. Yes. If anyone's looked at the Nvidia chart, it reminds me a lot of Tesla and a Bitcoin and a crypto and kind of thing. Remember, understand the thing that you're trading, and then it makes more sense to how you should trade it. So say like when Nvidia broke through, when it breaks, it's on. You know that every time because that's the nature of this. But remember, it's in sell-off hard. Went from $293 down to $124. They may not sound like much, but that is a huge crushing during 18 into 19. Didn't even get crushed that much during this crisis. Do you think we can hit all-time highs on Bitcoin this year? Well, we talked about that resistance and that support line. I definitely think that... it's difficult to think whether we can do that or not. It depends a lot on gold. Obviously, sentiment is everything on Bitcoin. I don't even think it's about the tech. It's about sentiment. And I think 16,000 is definitely possible. 20, anything is possible. 16,000, if we get a big clean break of 12, is certainly possible. Nvidia still very far ahead in GPUs. Yeah, well, look, I've got an Nvidia, 1080 Ti or something in this computer here. I've always preferred their technology. It's been really good. Nvidia dropped 1% in a second. I feel like Nvidia could drop 10% in a second, Nate. Oh, that's true. That's true. Bezos grew up not very well off. He would be able to fight, yeah? Why is the Dow performing less well than the others? Well, I think you just want to be looking at the sectors. Like obviously the Dow is made up of not many companies when you're looking at it. So have a look at the sectors performing well and poorly on the market. It will make a lot of sense. Let's have a look at that one-day performance heat map here. Always good to have a look at what's going well, what isn't. So a little bit of money coming out of the banks. Obviously, I still think this Wells Fargo is terrifying stock. I would not be that. And I noticed also a few people are upping General Electric at the moment in terms of upping the call rates for them. I don't know. Some companies, sometimes I think, you know what, it's just not worth the risk that you need to put in there. Yeah, we will check that Ethereum. I did say that. 1080 Ti, great card. Yes. One of the best. It went up in value. It was like a trade. During the crypto craze, I remember I bought it and it went up in value. That was awesome. Yep, so today it's a little bit into tech stocks, which means, of course, the Nasdaq's moving. McDonald's pulling a bit up. Wouldn't be surprised to see a little move in this sector. Rotation will come back in here, these restaurants. I really do think that this kind of study makes sense. Human psychology, remember, that's what we're really looking at trading right now. Goldman Sachs, just a reminder that they've called 3,600 now by the year end. Got 3,800 as their 12-month call. They will change it whenever they feel like it, but they've certainly gone quite bullish. Let's have a look at those things I did say I would look at, which is Ethereum. Let's have a look at Ethereum. I guess this data should be pretty good. I remember this. This was a glorious trade. Can anyone tell me in the room? I remember trading this very specifically. This was probably my biggest trade on crypto at the time. And I love this trade. Can anyone tell me what is this pattern? To the room, what is this pattern on the weekly? This is when I first started paying attention to technicals on crypto. Revenge eating? Well, I think if you followed things like obesity indexes, I think you'll find that there's a lot of performance in that. Unfortunately, this crisis is going to do that. So with Ethereum, has anyone got this one? Well, I'll just answer it, I guess. This is a very nice ascending triangle. Very strong resistance break happened here. Came back down. Beautiful buy. Very nice. Yep, you got that one right. Very, very good, everybody. Yeah, that's awesome. There's a sweet ascending triangle. So let's have a look at what's happening with Ethereum. So obviously it's a pretty nice move back up to 400. It's been a while since it got here. Had a couple of strong breaks. Let's go down the daily. It's not too much we can... I mean, if we're looking at this from a 1 month perspective, obviously it's a giant double bottom. Like, I mean giant double bottom. Look at that. Very strong buying off the 100 both times. Strong buying off the 100. Cracks at 300. Bang. So very strong double bottom coming off that massive epic short. And that was an epic short. So that's what you're looking at in the monthly. It's why it pays attention. It's worthwhile looking at that. Then you go down to the weekly. And we want to just kind of assess which lines. We had that kind of 350 bracket over here, which was the previous resistance. We know it acted as resistance and support before. So break of that was key. Probably be looking at a pullback here, trying to get a pullback into that zone, just in terms of some form of consolidation. Let's have a look here on the daily. What are we seeing? All right, so the 400's broken past. That's a key psychological. Got some nice structure in here. So we go down to the 4 hour at this point. I'll be looking at the 4 hour. And yeah, so that's what you want to target. Whenever you're looking conservative entries, you get that structure. You're now in the 4 hours, so you'd be looking at swing trading, day trading, this type of thing. You'd be looking at that key psychological level, and the previous resistances would act as support. So if you ever got that kind of pullback, you get a pullback because of the number of touches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, however many touches are there, that would be a key zone. But you can also wait for a lightning bolt up move, those type of things. Ideally, that's where it would go to. It may not do so, though, with the bullish movement of Bitcoin right now. Speaking of Bitcoin, 1 minute till the close. Let's see if Bitcoin gets through the 12,020 close up high. Go to the 1 hour. Okay, closed up. There we go, 12,100 closed up. It's the first time it's closed there for a very long time, so big news. 470 next target. Yeah, it could be. I'll have a look at the next target for Ethereum now. Go back to that daily, try to figure out where it's been at before again. So we're sitting at 450, probably at 500. I mean, 470, not too sure why it would stop there. It would try to go towards the 500 just because crypto likes hugging 50s and 100s. That's just the way of the natural kind of retail herd as well. So probably just before 500, like 490 kind of area. That big double bottom though on the monthly has me thinking that crypto is back in phase for now. All right, well, thank you very much everybody for attending. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Obviously, if you're enjoying these Monday these Monday kind of live market analysis sessions, let me know, and I'll keep doing them. I'll be doing it for the next 4 weeks anyway, just to gauge whether it's something that people are enjoying. And if you are, let me know. As I said, good luck this week. Think it could be interesting. Will we see a new stock market high? I do not know yet. I do know though that this is a struggle point. This is where risk reward is not really worth it. You're really just more looking at specific stocks. I still want to create that video where I talk about the next 10 years of investing. I think it's going to be stock picking is actually going to become a thing that's worthwhile doing over possibly passive investing. See how that goes. All right, peace out everybody. Enjoy your coffees if you're having them in America. I know I definitely do. If it wasn't for my coffee maker, I think I would have gone crazy over the last couple of months. Yeah, no worries. I really appreciate everyone following and subscribing, and of course following and talking in the stream. The community's awesome. Yeah, everyone on YouTube's really cool. And more importantly, getting better at technical analysis every day. I've noticed there's some great questions coming in. So that's great. I'll tell you what, the information out there when I first started sucked compared to what is out there nowadays. Thanks, MC. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Shane. All right, peace.